Hi, this is Jan with Jan's Jewelry Supplies. Welcome to another soldering video. This video is for starter kit number 2, 2 large pairs of earrings. There will also be some other supplies with these kits. There will be a heat gun, and there will be 20 feet of 300-degree solder wire. There will also be a helping hand, which is also referred to as a third hand. Also included are some safety glasses and a mask. You will also need a few items that are not in the kit. A tile is the first thing that you will need. This is a 16-inch tile. You can use an 8-inch tile. Also, you will need some Play-Doh or something to set your pieces down in so that they don't move. Any kind of craft dough will work. This is a kit that we sell on the website, and you'll only need 2 of the items in here. These side cutters and needle nose pliers. Also, this kit comes with round nose, bent nose, and flat nose. You will also need a rolling pin to roll out the Play-Doh. This will give you a flat surface to lay down your stones and settings. And I'm going to go ahead and start showing you how to set the stones. I use my non-dominant hand to hold the setting and my dominant hand to set the stone inside of the setting. And then I just use the sides of my pliers to go and fold the prongs down. You can use the jaw of your pliers, however it will mar the back of the settings if you do that. There are some tools on the market for setting stones, but I have not found any good tools for the shaped stones. There's really only tools for the smaller stones. With these settings, you can also use pliers that have nylon jaws so that they don't mar the settings. I will begin by making the large Navette earrings, which are labeled 2A in your kit. And I'm going to go ahead and preset my stones and lay out my Play-Doh. I'm just going to roll it out, make sure it's nice and flat, just to give me a smooth surface for laying out my design. To lay out your design, you really need a picture to refer back to. A lot of times I will preset stones and just play around with them, moving them around to create a design, and then I'll take a picture of it with my phone so that whenever I'm laying out my design, I have something to refer back to. Just remember, when you're laying down your design, if it is not symmetrical, you will want to lay it down the reverse of what you're seeing in your picture. Once you lay down your design, you want to make sure all your settings are flat and even, that none of them are sticking up or sinking down into the Play-Doh. You just want to make sure that it's smooth. I'm going to go ahead and begin soldering, and it takes about 30 seconds for the settings to heat up. Once they heat up, then it goes pretty quickly. You are heating up the settings, you're not heating up the solder wire. If you try to heat up the solder wire, then you're going to end up with a mess. Basically, you're just going to heat up the settings, and then you push the solder wire down in between the settings. If there is a bit of a gap in between the pieces, then you will just kind of drag it across from one setting to the other. You're going to want to place solder everywhere that the settings are touching or close to touching. I've finished soldering this piece, so I'm going to go back and add a jump ring. I'm just taking a small ball of Play-Doh and placing it at the tip of the piece, and I'm going to do this with the jump ring down, and that way it closes the jump ring with the solder when I add the solder to it. You just want to center it at the top of the large navette. And I will heat up the solder and the jump ring and just add a decent amount of solder to the setting and the jump ring just to connect them. Since this is for a pair of earrings, I will be making 2 of these. I'm now going to make the tops of the earrings. Since these settings, these 16mm settings are a little bit small for these particular clips, I'm going to do it a little differently. I am going to add the jump ring to the inside of the ear clip. On a larger piece, I will solder a jump ring to the bottom of the ear clip. But in this case, I am going to solder to the inside of the ear clip. So I'm just adding a little bit of solder at the joint. You want to make sure you don't get it on the hinge portion of the clip. You just want to add a little bit of solder just below the little round pad. I'm going to open up my jump rings and put them on the clips, and then close them. I'm going to go ahead and add some solder to the backs of the settings where I'll be placing the clips. This way I can go ahead and solder both the jump rings and the ear clips at the same time. I'm going ahead and I'm putting a little ball of Play-Doh below the ear clip so that I can stabilize the jump ring and make it lay flat. I don't want it turning down. I want it to lay flat. And I am using a third hand. I've just clipped the back of the ear clip so I can hold it in place. And usually I will use some pliers as well, just to push down on the back of the ear clip to make sure it gets a good connection. But first I need to make sure my jump ring is where it needs to be. I'm going to start heating up the pieces, and I'm using my pliers to apply just a little bit of pressure. The third hand will hold the clip in place, but it generally is not going to add any pressure, and you need that little bit of pressure just to make sure that the clip is snugly up against the setting. You don't want to push it down too far. If you push it down too far, you're going to be pushing it down into the Play-Doh further, and the Play-Doh will act as an insulation. And if your jump ring starts to move, you can use your pliers also to straighten that out. And I am adding just a little bit more solder to that jump ring. I now have a jump ring at the top and the bottom of my ear clip. I'm going to use these little C connectors to connect the two pieces together. Basically, you just want to slide your jump ring onto the connector and close it down. basically the little curve, you just want to close it down. And then you will add the top piece and do the same thing. I like to go in and close the two ends together. It makes it a little more secure and you see less metal on the front. Okay, and you will repeat this process for the other side. And here we have the finished pair of earrings, and we will move on to the other kit. This second pair of earrings is made mostly with smaller navets and some rhinestones, and it is labeled to be in your kit. Once again, lay out your Play-Doh and begin laying down your design. And it will help if you have a picture to refer back to. Once you've laid out your design, you want to go back and make sure that everything is level, that you don't have any settings that are setting down in the Play-Doh too far or sticking up. You want it to be smooth on the back. Once you have determined that everything is level, you can begin soldering. And you will just heat up the settings, and once they have heated up, just go in and start adding your solder. You should just be able to push the solder down inside of the settings. And you don't want to heat up your solder. You want the heat from the settings to melt the solder, not the heat gun. So you will be pulling the heat gun away just a tiny bit. Now that I'm finished soldering the design, I'm going to go ahead and add the jump ring. Again, I'm going to lay a small ball of Play-Doh at the very top, and I am going to place the jump ring with the open side down towards the pendant, and I'm going to be laying the jump ring across the two small navets to where it is just barely touching the tip of the two navets. And I'm just going to go ahead and heat up the settings and the jump ring and add a good amount of solder to the jump ring and the settings. When you want to duplicate a piece, like for instance if you're making earrings, you can lay down some fresh Play-Doh or turn the Play-Doh over and use the back side and push your pendant or your piece down inside of the Play-Doh, and it'll give you a little bit of a guide so you can see where your stones need to sit to duplicate the piece. If the piece is not symmetrical, if you turn it with the setting side down and push it into the Play-Doh, it will give you the opposite of the design that you had. And now I'm going to make the tops of the earrings. I have set down two 16mm stones with settings, and I am just going to put a little ball of Play-Doh at the bottom of the settings. With the last pair of earrings, I actually attached the jump ring inside of the ear clip. With larger bases, you can attach the jump ring to the back of the settings, but these are not large enough to do that, so I'm doing at the bottom. Just go ahead and apply some solder to the setting and the jump rings, and you want to get a good amount because that is going to be quite a bit of weight that will be attached to the jump ring. And now I am applying some solder to the back of the setting so that I can come in and add my ear clip. And I'm going to use my third hand to hold my ear clip in place. And you want the hinged portion towards the jump ring. And I use the third hand to hold the ear clip in place, and then I use the pliers to add a little bit of pressure so that while I'm heating up the solder, I can get a good connection between the ear clip and the setting. Now that I have jump rings at the top and the bottom of the pieces, I'm going to add my little C connector. I'm just going to slide one in onto the jump ring and then close the end of the C around the jump ring. And then I will add the top and also close the end of the C around the top. And as I said earlier, I like to close the C. I like the appearance of it, and it does add a little security. And obviously you will make 2 of these for your earrings. Once you have completed your designs, you pull them out of your Play-Doh and you can wash them with some soap and water, and you may need a pick or a toothpick or something to get any Play-Doh out of the crevices. After you've cleaned your pieces, you'll want to turn them upside down on some paper towel or cloth to make sure all the water drains out from behind the stones. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.